Hey y'all. Or yesterday, real news, not the fake ass news of the CBC and all these news outlets saying Hezbollah pagers exploded and all this bullshit, kakalaka. These were civilians. This was doctors, this was children. Like 8 or 10 people and children were killed by a pager stuff in Lebanon. It's not even like Gaza or Palestine. This is Lebanon, right? And it also happened in Syria as well. And then 2,000, almost 3,000 people injured. That was a terrorist attack, first of all. And the way that the news and people are putting it, it's like literally barbaric. Like a lot of y'all, I know that you woke up today thinking, like even your phone, like when you're with your kids, or if you don't have kids, if you're in the supermarket or where you work or something like that, like this is insane. So this is something that, like, I'm talking to Spirit, I'm like, what is this? And he kept saying it's a terrorist attack, which is the same thing as a racist attack. He keeps saying racist because only a racist white supremacy psychopath will do something like this. And on top of it all, have the whole media frame it as if it's the victim's fault, right?
So Israel planted explosives on pagers and detonated them remotely in a wide range of Lebanese civilian spaces, including grocery shops, busy city streets, medical facilities. And since the media is not reporting this accurately, I thought I'd just clarify very quickly that this is the definition of state-sponsored terrorism, and the U.S. is busy legitimizing the cyber terror attack. Again, Israel detonated thousands of bombs in Lebanon knowing that this will harm and kill children, civilians, medics, and passers-by who are just going about their daily lives in markets and on the street. This is terrorism. I mean, imagine if another country remotely blew up tons of devices inside Israel and killed a bunch of people. The U.S. would... I mean, you know what they do.
In general, yes, of course we support operations to target Hezbollah militants who continue to launch terrorist attacks against civilians. Israel has a right to defend itself against terrorism and a right to carry out legitimate attacks against terrorists, not civilians, but terrorists. So as a general proposition, yes, of course.
Okay, so let me take you back to the legitimacy of targets and so on. Yesterday, a group of settlers attacked a school in Jericho. They beat up the students, they broke their bones, they beat up the teachers and so on. Are they a legitimate target? Should they be a legitimate target by the same kind of definition that in which you have defined the other targets?
There's been a widespread terrorist attack in the entirety of the nation of Lebanon. We've lost at least 9 people to this, and 2,750 others have been injured, including an 8-year-old girl from the Bekaa Valley. Over 200 of the wounded are currently in critical condition. And the Lebanese group says that they hold Israel fully responsible. The United States says that they are not involved and that they were not aware of the incident. Senior Israeli officials are having an emergency closed-door private meeting. And all of this occurred when simultaneously thousands of pagers exploded in people's pockets all across Lebanon. That's not even the worst part. For one, these are not lithium-ion batteries. They're nickel metal hydride, or they're a regular AA. And while some of them could have been lithium AA's, it's unlikely that all of them were. Nickel metal hydride happens to be one of the most stable batteries there is. So this was clearly intentional and not a massive, terrifying glitch. That's not the worst part. These pagers are standard for medical staff. This is the brand most used by the medical staff in Lebanon. And if this is condemned as a terrorist attack, you know who will not be taking responsibility for it.
Five myths the Canadian government wants you to believe about the Canada-Israel arms trade. Myth 4. Canada only exports non-lethal military goods to Israel.
Non-lethal.
This is extremely misleading. Since October, the Liberal government has often used the non-lethal qualifier to describe arms exports to Israel it has approved. However, the term has no legal meaning, does not appear in the domestic or international laws governing the arms trade, and Global Affairs Canada has generally avoided giving examples of non-lethal arms exports to journalists who have asked what it means. Canada is probably using the term to describe weapons components, including components in lethal weapons systems. But a non-lethal component of a military plane, like a wing or a sensor, is no less lethal when it enables Israeli forces to bomb Palestinians in Gaza. Moreover, we recently learned that Canadian weapons company General Dynamics is planning to export 50,000 highly explosive mortars to the Israeli military via the United States. Nothing about this ammunition is non-lethal.
This example of the explosives that are going to be made at the General Dynamics factory in Quebec and sent to the US on their way to Israel, that this is like the textbook example of the US loophole. That means like, oh, well, if a weapon's actually going to the US, we don't need to get a permit for that export, and we don't even need to track how it's going, where it's ending up, what weapon system it's getting built into.
As for the question regarding General Dynamics,
although Minister Joly says that she is opposed to this sale, it is likely that similar arms deals are going through the United States that we don't know about. Canada must stop the flow of all military goods and technology to Israel, period, through the Special Economic Measures Act. This talk by Joly that she did on September 10th means nothing. We need an official arms embargo now.
I think when we see the government lying like this, it really shows that we have had a huge win here. Basically, it has become so obvious, even to the Canadian government, that they cannot justify arms exports to Israel anymore.
Something about Bibi Netanyahu and the most moral army in the world that the media doesn't want to talk about. Let's start first with Benjamin Netanyahu. He's the Prime Minister of Israel and he represents the Likud party. Now, the Likud party was founded in 1973 by a guy named Menachem Begin. Begin was the 6th Prime Minister of Israel and he served from 1977 to 1983. Before he founded the Likud and before he became Prime Minister, Begin was the leader of a Zionist military group called the Irgun. This is the emblem of the Irgun. It shows a map of both mandatory Palestine and the Emirate of Transjordan, which the Irgun claimed in its entirety for a future Jewish state. Now, the Irgun, by all intents and purposes, is a terrorist organization. In fact, in this book written by Bruce Hoffman called Inside Terrorism, he says that the Irgun sought to aggressively defend Jews from Arab attacks. Its tactic of attacking Arab communities, including the bombing of a crowded Arab market, is among the first examples of terrorism directed against civilians. That history is oftentimes omitted. Anyway, in March of 1938, David Razil, who is a commander in the Irgun, wrote in the underground newspaper By the Sword a constitutive article for the Irgun overall in which he coined the term active defense. Quote, defensiveness by way of offensiveness in order to deprive the enemy the option of attacking. Strategy sounds familiar, no? A couple of high-profile examples: bombing of the King David Hotel in 1946, also the Deir Yassin massacre in 1948, hundreds of civilian deaths. And you might be wondering, whatever happened to the Irgun? Well, after the founding of Israel, it integrated into the IDF. On June 1st, an agreement had been signed between Menachem Begin and Yisraeli Galili for the absorption of the Irgun into the IDF. They don't mention that history too often, do they? So yeah, the Prime Minister of Israel leads a party that was founded by a terrorist. And the Army of Israel, the most moral army in the world, the IDF, was formerly a terrorist organization. I don't know, the comparison between the IDF and Hamas is, I don't know, pretty apt. But of course, history is anti-Semitic.
Regardless of how these pagers were detonated, whether they were through a cyber attack that caused their batteries to explode or pre-planted explosives before they were distributed, let me make one thing clear. This was a premeditated and indiscriminate terrorist attack. As a result, there are now over 4,000 people in Lebanon that have been injured as a result of these explosives, and that includes the death of a 10-year-old girl. What Israel did today is a dangerous precedent that makes the world more unsafe, as well as it is a major escalation that will drag the region into a wider war. As always, it is Israel and by extension the US empire that is the biggest threat to peace not only in West Asia, but in the entire world.
Another thing that I kept investigating because, as an intuitive clairvoyant as I am, I'm just digging into deeper. Like I did a little meditation before going to sleep, after prayers, and it kept coming to me like different images of how they were framing this. Like we talked about, they are desperate, right? There's a desperation to their actions now, right? And again, this is to like cause fear in people, to, especially those who are resistant, those who are speaking the truth, exposing the real truth. Like people basically right now, I know for a fact the ratings of mainstream media is going down because a lot of people are waking up. A lot of people have decided to, we're going to look for independent news. We're going to look at Telegram. We're going to look at other sources. We're not going to, and this is why they are attacking all these independent other sources. So pay attention when Meta or TikTok or YouTube itself starts targeting other independent news that it's not well known, but they're in the ground. They can gather facts right away. They actually are publishing the real truth with the right headlines, okay? So this is why a lot of people are no longer buying the BS of the mainstream media, which is actually creating the whole misinformation propaganda for these leaders who are in power. It's not working anymore, right? Because they are the real terrorists. They are the real psychopath, murderers. Now, today, everybody's talking about the P. Diddy, right? Oh, P. Diddy's going to jail and stuff like that for all the things. I'm not excusing anything. That guy is psycho, another psychopath, and fucking rapist, okay? And also, no, they're not even talking. I'm waiting for in the radio. I was listening. I'm like, nobody's talking about the fact that in these parties, there were cops also in there doing those things to those children as well. Nobody's talking about that how he, like, literally, corrupt, buy cops basically to keep it quiet for this long, right? The gang mob. That's what they are. Useless. Anyways, my point is that everybody's focusing on this, distracted about this. I don't think we should focus too much on this guy. Let him be in jail, let him rot in jail. But it's just hypocrisy as well. I keep hearing hypocrisy. And I'm like, yes, Father God, absolutely. Our Christ consciousnness is heightened at this point, and it is meant to. Like, God is going to start doing stuff very serious right now. And just watch and continue doing, continue organizing, continue strategizing, continue divesting, continue boycotting. It is working. They know it, okay? So a lot of us, we have to come from within and do the work that we need to do. Now, my point is that these... the hypocrisy of what I was saying is that we have Prime Minister Netanyahu, a bunch of others who's still free. They are from the ICCJ, and the ICC, this person is supposed to be in jail. And no more of what Israel is doing to Gaza, Palestine, and the West Bank, and also Lebanon and Syria now, right? So, and this guy is free, right? So the hypocrisy is astonishing, because you have Pitti, who basically is doing the exact same thing as people are doing, but probably they're both worse. They're worse. One, we have a genocidal maniac who wants to extinct a certain population because they're jealous and envious of them, and they want to be like them, and they want to steal their land. They want to steal everything from them. They want to be like them, which is fucking weird. And then we have another one, because obviously it's not because of the race. Don't get me twisted here, because a lot of y'all, but I know it, that most and foremost, not only because he's black, that's not the point, but I know that right away, the conviction right away, oh, he's black, that's it. Because if Pigeon didn't do all the things that he did, which is true, it's facts, okay? There's facts everywhere, okay? There's videos, right? There's pictures, there's voices, there's seeing all kinds of DNA. There's proof, right? Just exactly like in Palestine, Gaza as well, right? But that is considered, like even them, they're the Israel people, the government and stuff like that. They're trying to literally bully the ICCJ and people who prosecuting them to make them to stop the case, right? Because they don't want to go to prison, right? They don't want to experience, because in their mind, this is how the delusion and psychological crazy these people are, because they're thinking that for them it's like, oh no, it's like, oh, they don't want the people to do to them what they have done to a lot of people, right? I'm still processing. That's why I posted on Instagram. I'm still processing, because yesterday also was the Ministry of Health had released, I don't know how many pages of children and people that have died in Palestine for the past, since October 7 into like August, right? And basically there's 14 pages of kids of 0 age. Like they haven't even turned like a month and they were unalive.
The Ministry of Health in Gaza recently released a 649-page document detailing the name, age, gender, and identification numbers of every Palestinian killed in Gaza from October 7th to August 31st. It is a genuinely sobering document containing the information of over 34,000 people who are now dead as a result of so-called Israel's ongoing genocide in Gaza. And as horrific as it is, there are two things that I think are really worth acknowledging for us as we try to look at the scale of devastation of this ongoing genocide. The first is that I want you to look at the column that is second to the left, all of those zeros. That is the age of the person who died. The first 14 pages of this document are Palestinians who were killed who were under the age of 1 year old. These infants did not know a life beyond genocide, occupation, and pain, concepts that they certainly were not able to understand. Each one of these people, each one of these human beings would have gone through and lived an entire unique life. They would have impacted countless others. They would have been a part of their communities, a part of their families. They would have been a part of the life stories of countless others, and all of that has been robbed from them. Robbed by a genocidal occupational military. The other thing that I think is really worth noting, though, is that the last 11 pages are people aged 77 to 101. Each one of these people was old enough to remember a time before the official establishment of the Zionist settler colony in 1948. These people were older than the project that killed them. These people lived through decades of occupation, of ethnic cleansing campaigns of genocide, of apartheid. These people saw it all. That is not to say that those two groups, the youngest and the oldest, have more value than any other Palestinian. But I think in highlighting them, we can really see the real goal of this ongoing genocide and colonial effort being waged by the Israeli government. The Israeli government, and more broadly the Zionist settler colony, has been waging a campaign of annihilation against Palestinians from its inception. They're waging those campaigns of annihilation because they understand that the continued existence and resistance of Palestinians undermines the fundamentally illegitimate claims they hold to land that they have stolen. And whether it be those old enough to remember a time before their project came to be, or the youth who represent a future of hope for Palestine itself, the Israeli project is dedicated to their annihilation. Something really worth thinking about, I think. But yeah, as always, free Palestine. Assalamu alaikum. Until next time.
And we are, like, we know the killers, we know the psychopaths we know who supported this, we know who donated this, we know who they're saying, oh, I'm a Zionist, right? We know that they're psychos. We know that they're literally psychopath, right? They're murderers.
What did the Israelis gain from what they did yesterday? Gain for them?
Well, I think they thought that they were going to do a lot of damage to Hezbollah and its fighters and some of its leaders, and they probably have done some of that. I think they've also made new enemies. People that were not terribly interested in them in the past are now resolute enemies forever. This is the danger, because from the standpoint of the people that pick up the phone or have the pager in their pocket and the damn thing explodes, this is a terrorist attack. This is not seen as part of warfare as we understand it. So from the vantage point of people on the ground in Lebanon that are suffering, this was another quote unquote Israeli terrorist act.
Is the Israeli army raping children?
Our protection teams are working with children released from the Israeli military detention system. These children report sexual violence, including rape. They report being denied food, beaten and attacked by dogs. They report seeing their parents stripped and beaten in front of them. These children are struggling to cope with the profound trauma and mental and physical harm that this has caused.
That was the testimony from a doctor in Gaza who leads Save the Children's health unit. And yet this isn't the first time that the rape of Palestinian children by Israeli forces has been reported.
I was part of the human rights vetting process for arms going to Israel, and a charity called Defense of Children International Palestine drew our attention at the State Department to the sexual assault, actually the rape of a 13-year-old boy that occurred in an Israeli prison in the Mosque Bia in Jerusalem. We examined these allegations. We believed they were credible. We put them to the government of Israel. And you know what happened the next day? The IDF went into the DCIP offices and removed all their computers and declared them a terrorist entity.
In response to the rape allegations in 2021, Israeli authorities shut down a Palestinian NGO after it reported allegations to the US State Department that Israeli forces had raped a Palestinian boy.
To the occupied West Bank, where a video has surfaced showing Israeli forces assaulting a child in a shop in Hebron. This happened 2 weeks ago, but we're getting the video now. Soldiers can be seen attacking the boy, forcing him to take off his top, apparently because it had a gun printed on the shirt.
Israel has a long history, prior to the 7th of October, of systematically holding Palestinian children captive.
One of them caught me, hit me on my chest with the butt of his rifle. He pushed me to the ground and then all started beating me. They arrested me and took me into detention and beat me again and cursed at me.
More than 700 arrests of children have been documented since the 7th of October. A July 2023 Save the Children report revealed that before the 7th of October, Palestinian children arrested by Israeli forces endured severe emotional and physical abuse, with 86% beaten and 69% strip searched. And after the 7th of October attacks, Israelis started a social media trend mocking Palestinian detainees arrested by Israeli forces.
I'm never surprised by the lack of compassion of Israeli supporters, but I am surprised at the continuous lack of foresight, because you know who doesn't agree with your blasé response to the 2,700 wounded, to the 10-year-old child who died in these attacks? Joseph Borrell, the head diplomat of the European Union. And you want to know why? It's because Israel just painted a gigantic target on the back of all of their allies. That genocidal ethno-state that, by the way, is undergoing a fascist theocratic takeover that is being enabled by the support of liberal Israelis and all of their supporters around the world, is aching to continue the war that allows them to expand their own power and dominate more and more Israeli institutions. And because of that, they're breaking all of the rules of warfare, covered politically by all of their allies in the West, who extolled the position of Israel as a standard bearer for all of us who live here, of our values, of our goals. But they're doing this with a script that after 11 months of genocide no longer works, because now they're trying to conflate the Lebanese people with Hezbollah, just as they try to conflate Palestinians with Hamas. Do you think that the backlash that they're going to receive is going to be limited to them? Or is it going to be extended to all of the countries that view Israel as a standard bearer for Western values in the Middle East? Israel is a linchpin in a vast system of settler colonial exploitation. You know the importance of the story that Israel told itself since its inception, and that the rest of the Western world told about Israel. That shield is now gone, both for them and for us. Continuously benefit politically and militarily and strategically from the existence of an apartheid state in the Middle East, reinforcing white supremacist rules. And as I record this, I just received a pop-up saying that more explosions of pagers have happened in Beirut. Good luck with your allegiances.
This is also America's war. It is not actually de-escalating anything. It is actively contributing to sending weapons, funds, diplomatic cover for a war that is doing the exact opposite. Everything the Biden administration is saying, literally giving protection to a Netanyahu government, which Biden and Blinken themselves say is a very problematic government. Literally giving cover to an occupation which America claims to want to whittle down and end, but is in fact providing everything that will ensure the exact opposite. Is saying that it does not want a regional war, but is actively launching airstrikes in Yemen, is giving Netanyahu, standing ovations here in Congress, is attacking the ICJ and the ICC, is doing everything that is undermining the Biden administration's declared purposes. And so regular citizens here in the United States are seeing through this.
These people, whatever the outcome of the election, those who've been most in charge of this policy, a policy on trial very soon, one imagines, at the ICC, the International Criminal Court, already condemned at the International Court of Justice, they will now be out of office. And how will they be treated, both legally and socially, politically, as the people who were complicit in this? How will Secretary Blinken be received when he leaves office? Because that will send a signal to future office holders. There should be a stigma and a cost associated with complicity, legal culpability in these kinds of crimes.
For Hamas coming into these ceasefire negotiations, it is essentially seeking for a full Israeli withdrawal and some kind of path towards returning Gaza to Palestinian control. And it's also signaled, for example, that it's going to be part of an interim government. It is signaled that it does not want to have full control over Gaza itself. And so it is indicating that that is essentially what it's trying to achieve. Now, for the Israeli side, it's quite opposite. It's very little interest in seeing Gaza return to the Palestinians. And Israeli officials, the generals, the politicians have been putting forward various what they call day-after plans. And these range from a long-term deployment of Israeli troops to having Arab states come in with peacekeeping forces to even establishing Jewish settlements. And these are heavily contested, but these are all united by an assumption that Israel is going to be maintaining overarching control of the Gaza Strip. And this is not just something that's theoretical. It's something that they're actively doing on the ground, literally shrinking Gaza through buffer zones, through military corridors, including along the Gaza-Egypt border, what's known as the Philadelphia Corridor. So this is actively, essentially redesigning the occupation of Gaza. This is what's really at the heart of it. And Washington has very clearly sided with the Israeli side of that equation, that it is more willing to allow Israel to create those new facts on the ground and to try to give time for the Israelis to establish that, more so than it is willing to give Gaza back to the Palestinians.
Right? And we're still thinking that they're the victim, that they're doing this for self-defense. A lot of y'all, you believe their own delusion just like these people. And on top of it all, they had the audacity, after we have evidence, we have facts, we have everything that we need to put all these people in jail, to take them out of the power, everything. Oh no, just that they have money, they get paid by AIPAC, they get paid by this and blah, 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 and that's about it, right? No, that's not how it works. Don't let them get into your mind fear mongrel bullshit, okay? Do not let them. Don't do that, okay? We should continue doing what we got to do now. Pray for Lebanon and Syria. Continue. We should never stop praying for those people there dealing with psychopaths like this, right? And trying to normalize genocide and stuff like that, right? Because that's what's going on. Like, it's crazy. And then that too is like a lot of people, it's like, I didn't know that's going on over there. Like, they're counting on people not knowing, right? This is why they target content creator, truth tellers, and people who are seers, right? Because a lot of people, like, they don't have to see the videos. They have dreams about it, right? Yeah, those are real clairvoyant seers. If you haven't seen anything, but you've been getting dreams about it, Like, you don't understand. How can you see certain things and you're like, why am I dreaming about this stuff? Yeah, that spirit. Yeah, he's giving you the truth and the facts. There's nobody else that's gonna put that in your mind, and for you to speak up for defend other people. Okay, start looking, research about it, research the symbols in those dreams. Okay, a lot of things Father God is gonna work behind the scenes, because the enemy is all over. It doesn't rest, but so is God. God is always 10 toes ahead. A lot of y'all, you got dreams before all this stuff happened. Those who are in the advocacy and pro-Palestine movements, right? A lot of us, we continue talking about Congo, Sudan. Today, I know they're doing, there's like an opening or something. So there's like a protest in the Apple store. Go show up. Go be there. Right? Do your proper things that you need to do. But a lot of us, we need to start going. Like, this is not, no. I'm not leaving this shit behind for my kids. Hell no. And I invite all parents who don't want to be dealing with this, or you want your kids to deal with all this shit, that they have to wake up scared of, like, if their phone or not even scared. It's not scared. It's more like disappointed of these governments, these leaders, these puppets, because that's what they are. They're easily bought, they're easily controlled and manipulated. So what the fuck are you in power for? What the fuck are you there for? How are you supposed to protect people if you're easily manipulated and controlled by psychopaths, by murderers? Oh no, well, they pay me well, $5 million, you know. Like, I'm so disappointed with AOC as well. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's a disgrace of Latinas, you know? What a disgrace, you know what I'm saying? And she had the audacity now to gaslight people not to vote for fucking Kamala Harris, another fucking psychopath. Do not believe this motherfucking bitch. She's a Jezebel, okay? Just because she has a dark skin and a lot of you like, oh, finally a woman in a blood. No, fuck no. She's a genocidal maniac. Fuck that shit, no. And Trump is even worse. Another distraction, by the way, those two guys who try to kill him, they work for him, for sure. Father God revealed it to me like crazy. Like, yeah, they're his own people. He's just asking for attention. He wants attention. Trump wants attention. So he pays people to do this, to try to kill him. Wake up. It's distraction. He's trying to get some votes and something like that. He's a loser. They're all losers. Please vote for Jane Steen, okay? The chick that does not get bought by AIPAC or anybody, okay? Who wants change, who wants to stop a genocide, who wants to reduce fossil fuels, who want to focus on climate change, which we should be doing that. Anywhere, also, any country should be right now refusing any Israel, Netanyahu, or anybody who serve in the IOF. They're all psychopath, genocidal. They kill people for 11 months and children. They bomb people. Do you feel safe having them in your country? I don't. So I think we should make that very clear also as a form of action, and organize and strategize, that we need to put it out there that those people migrating here, they should not be here in our country. We are not safe with having them here. They are war criminals. Right? Now, don't you find it interesting, which is not a coincidence, but don't you find it interesting that all the main Canada, USA, UK, the UAE, like Europe and stuff like that, they're all like complicit of Israel genocide? Don't you find a coincidence that they all, like, you know, they just, you know, and they're all bullying the ICCJ and ICC? It's because they're all are colonial. And they all are ethno states. They all have done the same thing to indigenous people. So don't trust these motherfuckers. We are here to change. Stay focused on the goal, because that's the goal, is changing systems. We have to change systems. And these people in power needs to be held accountable. Okay? And they redistribute wealth. Enough stealing. Right? There needs to be a boundary that it has been crossed for a long time ago. And yesterday, they really crossed the line. Right? Why are they trying to create a regional war? For what? Expansion, right? These people, they never have enough. And they will never have enough. This is a disease. They're parasites on this planet. Get it together. Free Palestine, free Congo, free Sudan, free Lebanon and Syria, and all people who are dealing with oppression. In the name of Jesus. Let's continue. Oh, Father God, give me patience. I send you love, guys. I'm sending you healing. You got this. I'm going to go see what's on my phone. And a lot of y'all do what you got to do. Like, it's crazy. But we're good, right? We're protected. We are children of God. We got this, okay? Continue sharing. Continue what you got to do, okay? I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.